What's going on, guys? Welcome to the first edition of Mock Draft Wednesday. Every Wednesday leading up to the 2026 NFL Draft, either myself or the War Room analyst Liam Carr is going to deliver you a mock draft. And I've been dying to do a mock draft with you guys for a while now, because it's actually what started this channel all the way back a year ago, back in April. Our first ever video was us just ripping raw, going back and forth a mock draft where, you know, we were right about a lot of players, we were wrong about others. We weren't able to really sink our teeth into the scouting side of things as much as we have been able to this offseason. I really feel like I got a good feel in this draft class. Last season I predicted 17 out of 32 first-round draft picks. Pretty proud about it. I've always trusted my player evaluation talent and the way that I look at things, and I really want to just use this as a funny one to look back to as we get closer to draft, how right, how wrong I was. And so without further ado, let's just jump into it, because I think everybody knows who the Raiders are going to go with. They're going to go with the 6'5", 225-pound quarterback out of Indiana and Fernando Mendoza. Makes a ton of sense for them, hiring Clint Kubiak, getting somebody to fit in and actually be a young quarterback that they can develop, provide some stability at the position, tie themselves to a quarterback and head coaching duo. Because, that's what the Raiders have done for the past 4 or 5 years, is they've had a constant carousel and rotation there. I think this is the most set-in-stone draft pick of the draft. So now the draft begins at number 2 overall. And this entire year, I've been saying it's Ruben Bain, it's Ruben Bain, it's Ruben Bain. Because I think that Ruben Bain, purely as a player, is by far the best pure pass rusher. You can see it in the Pro Football Sports Network's draft bio here. I think they do a solid job. It's why I use them over Pro Football Focus. It's free. Shameless plug right there for all of you mock draft wizards like myself that are sickos about this. But I think it really shows what he is great at. He's a sawed-off shotgun. But everyone's afraid about the arm length. They're afraid about his bend off of the line of scrimmage on the edge against more elite tackles. And I think the trade the Jets made showed where they're going. They're going to go to an odd front, try to have more of a 3-4 alignment with the trade of Jermaine Johnson with Devondre Sweat. And so with that, I think that they take the best pure stand-up edge rusher in the draft, Arvell Reese. Arvell Reese is insane. Those linebackers from Ohio State, their relative athletic scores just jump off the page, and it's crazy. I think that Arvell Reese has got to be in the right spot to get developed. For every single Micah Parsons, there's an Isaiah Simmons, right? Just because he's a super uber athletic, talented player doesn't mean that he's automatically going to produce. And I think that there's going to be a steep learning curve with him. But based off of the selection, his athletic profile, the flashes that he showed, coming from a pro-style system with Matt Patricia, I definitely think that he's worth the number 2 overall pick. And it's where I'm going coming out of the combine. Now, number 3, the Arizona Cardinals. They could go in a lot of different directions. I have been mocking offensive line this entire offseason. But the more that I think about it, I look at the talent, I look at the combine, I start digging into the tape, and I can't justify number 3 overall at this time going to Spencer Fano or a Francis Mauigoa that you might have to slide into guard, because they can address that easily in free agency. I think about what has Mike LaFleur always been able to do with his offenses when they've been really successful. Cut his teeth with the Titans, and he had Derrick Henry. His run game with the Jets was good. I look at the second coming of Bijan Robinson, and I think they go Jeremiah Love at number 3 overall. I think that the offensive floor this would provide their team, having Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride, and Jeremiah Love. You piece and patchwork the O-line in free agency. You address it in the 2nd and 3rd round, and I think that Malik Willis is a prime candidate to be in free agency for them. And you can start to see a super competitive division. Maybe they aren't going to make the playoffs, but the offense can provide a high floor, and I think Jeremiah Love can add that for him. So now at number 4 overall, we look at the Tennessee Titans. The flip side of that trade they made with the Jets. They went and got Jermaine Johnson. They have Jeffrey Simmons. I think that just shows they're going to be in that classic 4-3 front that Saleh loves to play. But in that system, he always runs cover 3, or he'll run middle 2 invert, and he always has a dog linebacker. He went and got, Quincy Williams off the freaking waiver wire, basically, and turn him into an All-Pro with the Jets. He got Fred Warner being a third-round pick and being an All-Pro. And I look at this freak from Ohio State that just lit up the combine, safety turn linebacker that could easily be closer to 250, ran a 4.440. I think they go and get Sonny Styles. Sonny Styles has just had a meteoric rise, going from first-round pick, top 20 pick, top 15 pick. Shamelessly, I was really hoping and praying he'd somehow make his way to the freaking Cowboys, my Cowboys. But unfortunately, I think that he's played himself into a top 5 pick with his tape, the way that he's shown his athleticism on the combine, and I think this would be a statement piece for Robert Saleh and his defense with the Titans. So now we go to number 5, the New York Giants. New York Giants with John Harbaugh, new head coach, new era. They're going to want to set the tone with this draft pick. I look at a Caleb Downs, who is a top 5 player in the class, but he's a safety. Is the positional value worth it there? They've got some needs on the O-line. Where do they go here? And I think you can make the case for Caleb Downs because of John Harbaugh's history with using Malachi Starks and Kyle Hamilton. But I think for me, they're going to pick the best wide receiver, my wide receiver one in this draft, and I think they go Jordan Tyson. And I think they do it for a couple reasons. I always look at wide receiver rooms like a basketball team. You don't want 5 point guards. You don't want 5 centers. You want variety. You want shot creation. You want playmaking. You want rebounding. So what the Giants have in their receiver room right now is they have a true Z receiver in Malik Neighbors. He can line up slot, inside, outside, all over, cover everything, intermediate of the field, and separate and be a home run deep threat. What Jordan Tyson's able to provide with his catch radius, his catch frame, his playmaking ability is more so a true X receiver. And why I think they go this route is they don't have the cap space to pay Wan'Dale Robinson. They're not going to be able to afford him. And I think Jordan Tyson's the best wide receiver, the best player they can get right here. And the safety class is so deep that they'll be able to address that in the later rounds. So number 6, the Cleveland Browns. They got needs everywhere on the offensive line. Where do they go? Well, they just pulled off a trade for, Titus Howard, 3 years, $63 million. You think he's going to play right tackle. You think that he's going to address one of their 5 starting offensive line positions. So you obviously think they're going to go offensive line here. And this entire draft, everyone's been penciling in either a Spencer Fano or a Francis Mauigoa. But there's an offensive tackle that just went and lit up the combine with an incredible athletic score. He played in an SEC conference. He's every bit of 6'7" and 315 with light feet, the way he plays with this technique. And I'm going to make a shocker in the draft community this early. When he gets drafted top 10, come back to this video, I'm going Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. I just think he is by far and away the most talented athletically offensive lineman. And people forget with big guys, you don't just draft them because they're big. You draft them because they're the best athlete. So number 7, the Washington Commanders. If Arvo Reese can fall here, I would love that for them because I think Dan Quinn would work his magic like he did with Micah Parsons and turn another athletic freak into a great football player. But unfortunately, the way this draft has fallen, he's not going to be there. So what do? Well, you see Ruben Bain here, the guy that I build as a top 2 pick. He's now fallen to 7 on this. But the person I think makes the most sense for their scheme in the way that Dan Quinn likes to play defense, I think they go get this speedster pass rushing specialist, David Bailey, out of Texas Tech. I think the dude is as slippery as all can be, pure pass rusher. He's got a great bend off the edge. The only thing that scares you is he gets kind of dominated in the run game. He looks a little slender and light for a 250, definitely some room to add some weight. But talk about pure pass rushing juice, and this guy has it. So number 8, the Saints. The way this draft board fell for them, I kind of love it because they could talk themselves into taking Jeremiah Love if he was there. They would have to talk them into maybe taking a wide receiver like Jordan Tyson if he's there. But now they get to go sit back and make the best educated draft pick that they can and take Ruben Bain. Ruben Bain fits perfectly right next to Cam Jordan as Cameron Jordan goes into a swan song. And Ruben Bain honestly reminds me so much of a Cameron Jordan, of a Trey Hendrickson, of a Michael Bennett from that Legion of Boom defense. He is exactly in the mold of a pass rusher that's proven time and time and again he can be a strong side edge in a 4-3 system. I think Ruben Bain's perfect for the Saints there as they continue to build this team, this new look for Kellen Moore's Saints. So we're at number 9 with the Kansas City Chiefs. And, they've got holes. They could use a wide receiver. With Jawan Taylor being cut, they could use an offensive tackle, and the way this is falling, some offensive tackles are there. They definitely need an interior presence on the defensive line. They could use another corner. Where do they go? There's a lot of good players here. But there's a player from Clemson that, for me, that I think a lot of people are reading too much into a lost season for them, and they're denying what his tape has shown throughout college and how athletic of a profile he is. And I think Peter Woods makes a lot of sense here. He's 6'3", he's 315. They slendered him down to about 290 this season, and I think that wasn't good for him. He's bulked back up to about 308 during the combine. He's a very fluid mover with a very powerful anchor. He can really shed blocks in the interior, and I think he would fit in great right next to Chris Jones, allow Chris Jones to maximize what he has left in the tank and allow for more of an edge rushing presence on that defensive line. Now, rounding out the top 10, I think that the Bengals make the no-nonsense pick and they take Caleb Downs, which, what a draft board to fall for the Bengals for Caleb Downs to fall to 10. Talk about just an elite football player. He's not going to blow you away with his athleticism. He's not like a freaking Nick Warrior that's just a creature running around. He's just a good football player. Super technical, always in the right spot, fluid mover, can really read coverages. He would provide a good blanket back there for the Bengals. They try to rebuild the defense. Now we look at where I think a corner run is going to happen in this draft, and it's the Miami Dolphins. They drafted Jeff Hafley, a defensive-minded guy, and I think they just go ahead and take the best corner athletically. Yes, he's coming off a torn ACL. Yes, we haven't seen him, but Jermod McCoy is basically what everyone was afraid of when Derek Stingley came out for not playing for a year. I'm not saying he's Derek Stingley, but I think that he is the most natural defensive back in this draft, and you can go put him on the boundary for the next 5 to 6 years and I have to worry about it. Now we got my Cowboys at 12. Kind of hate how this draft board fell for him. At the start, I was really hoping that a freaking Sonny Styles would show up. Maybe somehow a Caleb Downs would fall. Now we're sitting at 12 and they're all gone. And we know what they need. They need defense, 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 and more defense. And I think that's where they go. I think the way that this draft has fallen, Mansour Delane out of LSU makes all the sense in the world. He's someone that's had a slow rise, slow build-up throughout his years in college. I mean, he started out where, he wasn't really going to be a first-round pick, and then he was going to be a top 100 pick, and then all he did is be the best corner in football this past year. He's great in zone coverage. He has a really good bottleneck bite at the start, and I think he'd be perfect for what the Cowboys need, which is somebody in the secondary that's not barbecue chicken. Now, 13 overall for the Los Angeles Rams. Kind of sucks again for the way this board's fallen for the Rams. They need corner bad, and 2 corners just went. But what a lot of people are going to try to push for here is a Ty Simpson, or go take a receiver like Carnell Tate or Mekhi Lemon. But way this board's fallen and for what they need, Spencer Fano makes all the sense in the world. I think he's incredibly talented. He has incredible potential. I think there's a real opportunity for him to develop into being a blindside protector for the Rams. Rob Havenstein just retired. It's going to be a sieve on the right side. You've got a pocket quarterback that is built off of playing with timing and precision, and you got to protect him. Spencer Fano makes all the sense in the world. 14 overall, we got the Baltimore Ravens. Man, what an offseason where a lot of stuff happened that, we didn't know how it was going to shake out. Finally, they got rid of John Harbaugh. They've got an extension kind of out there waiting with Lamar Jackson. Don't really know where they're going to go with that. They were one of the worst pass rushing teams in the league. They obviously feel like they need a receiver. So, they have some needs here, and the board kind of gives them some options. Everyone's looking at Carnell Tate. We're looking at Francis Mauigoa. I'm not very high on Keldrick Falk. I think he's, the second coming of Cleveland Farrell, and whoever gets him is going to be very sad. But where do they go? Well, I think Francis Mauigoa makes all the sense in the world. A lot of people have been mocking Vavega from Penn State because they think that he's the best guard that's going to be available for him. And a lot of people have Francis Mauigoa as a top 10 pick. The way this board fell, they go and get a top 10 talent to go play inside. And Daniel Falalele can finally be let go in free agency and can move on and start protecting Lamar Jackson. Makes a ton of sense in the world where the way Declan Doyle runs that offensive scheme, that Ben Johnson run scheme. Francis Mauigoa is a great pick. 15th overall, we look at the Buccaneers. What do they do? They need defense front seven. I mean, they couldn't stop the run to save their life. They couldn't get pass rush, so they had to blitz like crazy. Kind of where do they go? I think this does make sense for Keldrick Falk. He's 6'5", 290. They run a 3-4 odd front. Oh, I mean, truthfully, he is probably a top 20 talent. I don't love it. I think the fit makes a ton of sense. I think that being next to Vita Vea and having Yaya Diaby coming off the edge, that 3-4 storm system, Tampa 2 style that Todd Bowles likes to play, I think that could make a lot of sense. I think that means if they're going to go this route here, they need to address a lot of other needs in free agency on offense. So 16 overall. If you remember with the Jets, they went Arvell Reese. Where do they go at 16? Well, they got a lot of needs on offense. Defensive tackle, I know they're saying that's a need. It's not as much of a need now after getting Devondre Sweat in that trade. And I think that they just sit here and they take best player available and get another Ohio State receiver to pair it with Garrett Wilson and Carnell Tate. Talk about an embarrassment of riches on offense. Getting Carnell Tate, they'd have Carnell Tate, Garrett Wilson, Adonai Mitchell, Jonathan Mechie, Mason Taylor. Looks like they're going to keep Breece Hall. They're going to get Braylon Allen back healthy. They've got Armand Mimbu and Olu Fashanu at tackle. The only question mark is going to be quarterback and what they do there. I think they're going to be able to address it in free agency, at least with a veteran option. Jacoby Brissett makes a lot of sense. He's a high floor guy. One of his last good productive starting seasons before the Cardinals is when he played with Frank Reich. And I mean, you can see a high floor offense with all of these weapons and put Jacoby Brissett in there to develop them and address quarterback in 2027 when they have 3 first-round picks. Now we get to the Lions at 17, and man, do they need somebody to help out Aiden Hutchinson. And a lot of people are trying to force Akeem Mesidor here. You will never get me behind a 25-year-old rookie, especially at edge rusher, because by the time he's on his 5th-year option, are you going to be paying a 30-year-old for edge rusher? There's no way to me you can justify it at 17. There's another Clemson defensive lineman that I'm way higher on, and the Senior Bowl proved it in the way that he played against talent. I think you got to throw out a lot of the tape of this last Clemson season as just kind of a loss and a wash. And I think they go TJ Parker to pair up on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. Makes a lot of sense for what they need. They started to lose games late because they had no edge. They had no pass rush outside of Aiden Hutchinson. This would allow Aiden Hutchinson to have more, they're never going to leave somebody one-on-one. Instead of getting triple teamed or totally sprint booted out of the play, it's going to make people have to come up with better protection schemes against the Lions. And I think it makes a lot of sense. Now we go to the Vikings at 18, and I've been looking at this for a while for them, of where they need secondary help. And I'm not going to draw from the well that they have the past couple years of probably reaching for a safety. Because, I mean, as much as I kind of love a Dylan Thieneman to them, it would feel like the reincarnation of Harrison Smith. I think that Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores have successfully committed a coup over the front office, and they're just going to be like, listen, we're going to take the best player available that makes the most sense. And I think here what makes the most sense for them is Avion Terrell out of Clemson. He's 5'11", he can play nickel, he can play outside. His brother is a great corner for the Falcons. His athletic profile screams day one starter. This is my 3rd Clemson player to get taken in the top 20. I just think that can let you know how talented that team was and how much of a waste of talent there was there this year. But Avion Terrell makes a lot of sense for the Vikings. It would solve a major issue on their defense and allow them to try to address in the later rounds their offensive line. So now we look at 19 with the Panthers. They need edge, they need safety, they need a lot of things on defense. Caleb Lomu can make sense as a developmental tackle as Taylor Moton starts to age out, and maybe Ike Ekwonu isn't exactly what we thought. Maybe he can go in and play guard. Maybe Caleb Lamu, long time, is a guard. But I think they go get the freak from Oregon in Kenyon Sadiq. If y'all didn't see his combine, oh my gosh, it was freaky. I mean, the dude ran a 4.4 40, 38-inch vertical, weighing at 250. He screams Vernon Davis to me, just watching him play football. I think that he screams the reincarnation of Vernon Davis, and I think it would be great for Bryce Young. It would allow Tommy Tremble, one, maybe to move on from him or slide him into a smaller role. It'd give him another complimentary pass catcher to go to Jalen Coker and Tedero McMillan, and I think it would set their offense up for a make-or-break year next year with Bryce Young making a decision on whether or not you're going to give him a big money extension. So now we're back up with the second first-round pick for the Cowboys. And I'm going to do something you probably shouldn't do in first mock draft is I'm going to propose a trade. And why I'm doing this is I think the Cowboys are going to have to trade one of their first-round picks to pick up more draft capital because of the holes. And I think a team here that makes sense is with the Rams. And why I'm having the Rams propose this trade to the Cowboys is because they're going to have to come up with a succession plan for Matthew Stafford. This is going to probably be the only year they have the draft capital to make a move and absorb it. They're also probably going to get about 2 more years out of Matthew Stafford. What perfect way to go ahead and jump the Steelers, jump the Browns, make sure that they can't do it, and go up and move and get Ty Simpson. And I think that what makes sense for them is 29, 93, and 206 for 20. It says it's close. We'll add some other crap in here. Well, maybe it'll end up what it's going to have to be is the 3rd and the 4th round pick. And I think that gets it done. No? Man, this is a new tool. Okay. Purpose of this trade getting this done, we'll go their 1st and 2nd round pick. But I think the change will be a little less than that. But 29 to 20, go ahead and make the move up. Cowboys recruit extra draft capital. The Rams go up, and I think they can take their quarterback of the future, Ty Simpson. I've been pretty right on quarterback evaluations lately. I always have been. Last year, I told you that Shadur Sanders is not a first-round pick. I told you I think Jackson Dart is the best quarterback of this draft class, and I told you Jackson Dart wouldn't make it out of the first round. I also said that I kind of like Tyler Shuck, even though I didn't want to admit it, and sure enough, he came on really strong at the end of the year. So I've always kind of trusted my quarterback evaluations. I coached college football for 6 years. I've always been able to have an eye for talent at that position. And for me, Ty Simpson is the exact kind of quarterback and profile that is proven to at least be a floor general, a field general for a Sean McVay-style offense. He screams to me what Jared Goff was back in 2016. And Jared Goff was the number 1 overall pick, but I don't think anybody would tell you Jared Goff is some physical specimen at the position. And it's almost I'm underselling Ty Simpson's physical traits because he has a little juice. He can wiggle a little bit. He layered some really good throws against a really good Oklahoma defense this offseason or back in the playoff run. And I just think coming from Ryan Grubb, he's an NFL OC. 1-year starter, you go draft him, you sit him, you let him develop under Matthew Stafford, let him marinate in Sean McVay's system, and I think it makes a lot of sense for the Rams to continue this era of dominance that they've had. Now we move on to the Steelers at 21, and come on, man, how could they not be happier? Mekhi Lemon, who a lot of people think is a top 15 pick, fell to him at 21 when they have a absolute need at that position. Because, I mean, we talk about a stable of horses, a basketball team of different talents, as you will, in the receiving room. Well, this is exactly what they're missing, an elite route-running, chain-moving type of player. For all you want to say about DK Metcalf or them making that trade with George Pickens, the only receiver they've had for the Steelers since Deontay Johnson's last 1,000-yard season is an X-receiver that can run really fast vertically. Well, when their O-line isn't the greatest and you've got Aaron Rodgers, 42-year-old Aaron Rodgers, you got to play with a lot more rhythm and timing and underneath routes. Mekhi Lemon's going to eat and feast. He reminds me of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Love the pick, love the fit. Great way for this draft to fall for the Steelers. Now, the Chargers, 22 overall. We all saw what happened. They need offensive line yesterday. And I think they go get the best interior lineman in Vivek Ione out of Penn State. The dude is what I've always called a toad build out of offensive linemen, where he's short and compact with freakishly long arms, short torso, great bend. His motor in the run game is excellent. If he clinches you with his fist in that vise, you're moving nowhere in pass pro. He'd slot right in either next to Rashawn Slater or Joe Alt. 2-3 years Dagestan, you can forget about it. 23 overall, the Philadelphia Eagles. Would have loved if Kenyon Sadiq could have fallen for him. Would have loved if TJ Parker was on the board here. I just don't see it with Akeem Mesidor. I know people are going to talk them into it, and I think if he was here for the Eagles, that's who they would pick. But I'm going to go get the succession plan and offensive line and take Caleb Lomu. I think Caleb Lomu, the two Utah tackles, are great NFL archetypes at tackle. I think that he can do it. But what will be good for the Eagles is he'll be able to slide in, he'll be able to play guard, he'll be able to learn from the master of Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. I know Lane Johnson's coming back this year, but this might be his last ride. And offensive line is one of those things that, you got to draft them if you want a good one. And the Eagles, their mantra has always been dominant trench play up front with a great run game. And you've always got to invest in that pool or it's going to deteriorate. And so I think that makes a lot of sense for the Eagles, and I think they go Caleb Lomu at 23. 24 overall for the Browns. Kind of really hard how this fell. They got Monroe Freeling at 6th overall. A lot of people are going to say it's a reach. I love the pick. Would have loved if Mekhi Lemon could have fallen 2 more spots, or if Caleb Lomu was still there, or maybe even Ty Simpson was there. But board didn't fall that way. Now we're looking at what's here. You see Denzel Boston. To me, his combine, kind of scary for one thing. I don't know if he can separate at this level. But secondly, on top of all of that, I haven't just loved his tape. A tape that I do like, it's growing on me a lot just because of the way that he can separate, manipulate coverage. I think they would go Casey Concepcion here out of Texas A&M. He's 5'11", 190, but you can see right here the way that he plays the game. I honestly think that he's Luther Burden of this year's draft class. It's the closest comp that I can get just right off the top of my head, because I think that, he's honestly a miniature Debo Samuel with the way that you just put the football in his hands and he can be electric and make plays. And I think that's the business the Browns need to be in, is just get as many playmakers on offense as you can. So now we look at the Bears at 25. The Bears, they need defensive tackle yesterday. I'm going to go Cade McDonald, who I think is the best true nose tackle, best run-stuffing football player, absolute mass of a human. Yeah, people are making a lot of stuff about his combine, that he was stiff, bow-legged, didn't have the twitch and bend on the hoop drill, but a man that's like 6'3", 340, I want him doing one thing: plug in the 0 and 1 tech and just creating havoc. And that's exactly what he does. Be a great floor raiser for the Bears defense. So now we're at 26 for the Buffalo Bills. And they need just about everything on defense. And they need better pass rushers. Their safeties are way too old. Matt Milano is starting to get up there and get long in the tooth. I think their corners could use some help. They need a wide receiver yesterday. But, where do they go here? The way this board's fallen, I don't think there's a realm where they go Denzel Boston, because that's literally exactly what they did with Keon Coleman not too long ago, and I think they're scarred from it. I think with the way this board's fallen, I'm going to go Hakeem Mesidor, because I think they need edge rushing juice badly. I think it would make a lot of sense for their situation and fit. Scares me that he's 25 years old, but the Buffalo Bills, for me, need-wise, it makes a lot of sense. They're in a win mode now. 4 years down the road, when you're having to pay him, you're probably already going to have to blow up the team, and Joe Brady will already be fired by then. Not really. I don't want to say that. Man, for y'all that have been following us, I was not happy with the Bills keeping Brandon Beane and firing Sean McDermott. I think they fired the wrong person, but time will tell in that situation. Anyways, we're on to the San Francisco 49ers at 27 overall. This board's fallen kind of strangely for them. They need wide receiver. They need edge, because Mikael Williams wasn't what they thought he'd be at 11 overall. Nick Bosa's getting older. What's going to happen with Trent Williams? I'm looking at Caden Proctor here. I don't think he's a tackle, but they need guard. He could play tackle if he had to. The question with him isn't athleticism, it's technique. I'm going to go Caden Proctor here. Is he really going to fall to 27 overall? How many 6'6", 330-pound offensive linemen are out there, right? But I just think with the way this board's fallen, they look at the needs they've got to have. I think that will be the pick for them. It will be a mauler in the run game. That will be a work in progress in pass pro. 28 overall. We're getting here towards the end, the last 4 picks of the first round, and this first mock draft 1.0. And I look at the Texans, and man, they're just getting rid of their offensive line left and right. They traded Juice Scruggs and a 4th-round pick to get David Montgomery. They freaking shipped off Titus Howard and some change for a 5th-round pick. I think what that tells you is they're going to look at this draft and, in the meat of it, take a lot of the later round offensive linemen. Because right now, looking at the way the board's fallen, what's there, Max Iacanner from Arizona State might make sense. I know he's not listed high here, but the player that I would consider taking here, and in fact, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Everyone fell in love with him because of the mullet man, but the dude's a massive human, and I'm going to go Jennings Dunker out of Iowa. This dude reminds you of Quinn Meinerz out of Wisconsin Whitewater a couple years ago. Freaking first-team All-Pro guard for the Broncos. I think that he's incredible in the zone run game, which is exactly the system that the Texans have ran on offense for the past 3-4 years since D'Amico Ryans has gotten there. Yeah, he's buzzed through offensive coordinators, but their run scheme has always been built off of duo, wide zone, and counter bash, and that's exactly what Jennings Dunker did in Iowa in college. I think it plays to his strengths. I think it fills a position of need. I think he's a high floor player, and I think his ceiling is a little higher than a lot of people give him credit for. I always trust my own line evaluations. Yes, I've taken some wild shots here going Monroe Freeling, 6th overall, and now a dude that's getting mocked outside the top 100 in most drafts, and Jennings Dunker. We may look back in a couple years, and this is my Cole Strange, Bill Belichick pick, but I really do think Jennings Dunker is going to get his name called a lot higher than a lot of people think. So now we're here, bottom 4 picks. The Cowboys have traded down, pick 29. Where do they go? Well, I think with the defensive coordinator hire they've made, with the 3 defensive tackles they have, and now we've gotten them drafting Mansour Delaney, I think they go target Nakobe Dean in free agency. I think there's a lot of places that they could go here that they need, but talent-wise, the way the board's fallen, I'm going to go Dylan Thieneman here. I don't think this will happen, and I probably should be, for, this video's sake, trying to make a predictive mock draft, but I want to talk about some players and give some shine to some that maybe aren't on your radar. And I mean, this dude just screams 10-year NFL starter. I mean, he looks like a Reed Blankenship, a Cooper DeGenie, and I said earlier, the reincarnation of Harrison Smith. The guy's always in the right spot. He's a freak athlete, ran a 4.4 40 at the combine, 39-inch vertical, freakishly long arms, great 3-cone drill. Dude put up, I think, 19-20 reps on bench press at 225. Dude's a really good athlete, but he's also instinctual. He's a thumper. You can play him in the box. You can drop him over the middle. I think it's exactly what the Cowboys need, because they've had a lot of old safeties, and that's why we've given up so many deep shot so many deep shot plays, because we have old safeties in the wrong spot, flipping the wrong way, making the wrong read and match coverage, and I think he would solve a lot of holes on that defense. Last 3 picks. I look at the Broncos. The obvious pick is here, right? Denzel Boston. He fell a little bit in this draft because of his combine performance, but the Broncos need a playmaker yesterday. And Denzel Boston, at the very least, will be their long-term Cortland Sutton replacement. In fact, I think that would be a good projection for Denzel Boston. Ex-receiver that's not super fast, can move the chains. Maybe his ceiling is Anquan Bolden, and maybe his floor is Cortland Sutton. We'll see what he turns into long-term. I think Bo Nix needs another threat on offense, and I think that'd be a good pick for them. Now we look at the last 2 picks here for the Patriots and then the Seahawks, the Super Bowl runner-ups. What they really need is they need offensive line, they need a wide receiver, they need help in their front 7. I know they say the linebacker here, but I kind of like their linebackers. Yeah, they're a little older, a little longer on the tooth side of things, but looking at the board here, kind of what they need. I mean, I'd like an Omar Cooper here. I think that would be, pretty solid for them. He's, like I said, his dynamic duo. He might not be the fastest, but he's got good tempo control, good route runner. I would like R. Mason Thomas here. He's a little heavier. He's more like 6'2", 250, but does he really give them the pass rushing juice they would need here? Lee Hunter would be a fun pick, but they don't need interior D-line. I mean, if I'm him hawing here, gonna play it safe, I'll just take the best player available in CJ Allen. I think that I have a first round grade on him. I think he's a top 30 player. Get him at 31. It's solid value. He's a 3-down linebacker. He'll be allowed Mike Vrabel to build all the levels of his defense around it, and I think it's a good, safe pick for how this draft board's fallen for them. Last pick, I think this is an easy pick for everybody that's been following the Seahawks' off-season. Tariq Woolen's going to be gone yesterday. They're not going to re-sign him. Devon Witherspoon, they're going to have to pay a lot of money for. Super Bowl champs, they did it because of the reincarnation of the Legion of Boone. They're calling them the Empire is what Mike McDonald likes to call that defense. I think they go get South Carolina. He wasn't a teammate of Nick Montawariye because the transfer portal, but I think they dip in that well again. 6 foot, 190, incredible athlete, good football player. I think that would be a good running mate for Devon Witherspoon. And so, I mean, there y'all have it. That's the first mock draft 1.0 of the season. I think I took some swings. I think this is a little different what you're going to see out there. I think a lot of the draft consensus is going to come around to seeing the board this way. Like Monroe Freeling, I'm telling you, buy his stock like it's, an actual stock and invest in it now. I think that Ty Simpson is not going to make it out of the first round. I think Clemson defensive players, I think they're going to be drafted higher than a lot of people expect. I think Keldrick Falk's going to fall. I do think Akeem Mesidor should fall, but I think some teams going to be dumb enough to take him real high. A lot of people are down on Caden McDonald right now, but I'm telling you, the dude is just a massive human, and he can't run the football on him. And so, I mean, that's the board. That's where I have it. We'll reassess this next Wednesday after another week of the NFL media churning. Drop your comments below of what you want to see NFL draft content related wise. We can do a lot of things on the channel. I know last year I tried grading every first round pick, released the top 100 prospect. We live streamed the draft. Let us know what you want to see here over on the Sideline Journal. Keep your eye out for Mock Draft Wednesdays, because this is what I'm always the most passionate about with you guys, is actually evaluating this with you. So anyways, appreciate all the support. Keep your eye out for some Mini Bite War Room episodes. We recorded like an hour-long superlative award show over a week ago, or 2 weeks ago now, and y'all can blame me. I'm a terrible editor. It's not that I hate it, it's just like, man, it's hard for me to commit all the time that I need to produce something quality for you guys. And so what we're going to do is we're going to split that up and put the 10-minute award segments throughout so that we have some more content here from the Sideline Journal. Anyways, enough of my rambling. Appreciate you guys tuning into this, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace out.